Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark.
Which one should I upgrade first? My camera or my lens? This is a question that we've all faced at some point, especially when the new camera season rolls about. We get this camera gear envy. We see the latest and greatest camera model and we kind of think to ourselves, should I upgrade to this new camera? Will this new camera really make my photos and videos look better? And I get it. As creators, there is always that desire to push our content to the max, to produce the best content we possibly can, whether that is for YouTube, photography, video shooting, and we're going to be at this crossroad at some point where we do need to decide which one are we going to upgrade first, our camera or our lens. But let's face it, that's not always an easy decision to make, and I have definitely made some bad choices myself when it comes to my own camera gear decisions. So, in today's video, I want to share with you my honest take to help you decide whether you should upgrade your camera or invest in that new lens, and most importantly, which one to prioritize first.
Now, I'd actually like to start by talking about some of the reasons for not upgrading your gear. There is going to be a point in time where you feel like you want to upgrade your gear, but you probably don't need to just yet, and there are a few reasons for this. Firstly, if you are thinking that by buying this new flash piece of equipment, it will automatically land you more clients. Secondly, if you're under the mindset that it will gain you more likes and follows on Instagram. And finally, and most importantly in my opinion, is if you believe it will make you a better creator. Now, when I started out in photography, it took me longer than I like to admit to realise that last point, because at the end of the day, cameras, lenses, they are just tools, and it should be your creativity that makes you a good photo or video shooter, not the gear. And if you are familiar with the channel, you'll know that I like using more budget-friendly setups from time to time to demonstrate that you don't always need the latest and greatest equipment to capture great photos. What it really comes down to is creativity, practice, and a basic understanding of things such as composition, lighting, and the exposure triangle. And I guarantee if you are someone who has this basic understanding and are using a more budget-friendly setup, you'll be much better off than someone who has all the gear but none of this basic understanding. But there will come a point where once you have mastered the basics, you'll start feeling like your equipment is holding you back. That's when I'd say it's a good time to start considering making an upgrade to help push your creative potential further. So with that in mind, here are some reasons why you should consider upgrading your camera. For starters, if you're a photographer who requires a camera with a high resolution sensor, you might be better off looking at something like the Sony a7 IV, which boasts a 61 megapixel sensor. With this camera, it means that you can print at humongous sizes and have a lot of flexibility when it comes to cropping in post. That being said, not everybody needs a super high resolution sensor. For some photographers, it might be overkill. If you primarily share your work online and you don't need to print on a billboard, something with fewer megapixels would be a better choice. Plus, it'll be much easier to handle the file sizes. For me personally, my main full frame camera that I use for photography is the Sony a7C Mark II, which is equipped with a 33 megapixel sensor, which is plenty enough for me for all the professional work that I do. Autofocus performance is a feature that is largely determined by the camera body, and when I made the switch from DSLR to mirrorless back in 2019, one of the key reasons behind that decision was in fact autofocus. The continuous tracking found on many mirrorless cameras is simply unbeatable, especially ones that are now rolling out with AI autofocus. In many situations, this makes your job so much easier as you can rely on the autofocus to track your subject whilst you focus on being creative. When looking at a new camera, especially if you're thinking of switching systems, one of the most important things to take into consideration is lens choices. This is something I really didn't take into consideration when I first moved to mirrorless camera. I started with the Nikon Z6, which was Nikon's first entry into the mirrorless market, but they had no lens support, and any lenses that they were making were way out of my price range, which ultimately led me to move to Sony, as they were more established in the mirrorless market, not just with their own lenses, but also the support of third-party lens manufacturers such as Sigma. So if you're thinking of upgrading camera or switching systems, make sure that the lenses you need and might want in the future exist in that ecosystem. Moving on to image quality, which over the last decade or more has stayed relatively the same. You could take the same photo on an a6000 and an a6700, Put them side by side and you'd be pretty hard pressed to be able to tell a difference. The only areas where image quality has improved is in places like low light performance. Newer cameras offer better ISO performance at higher levels, allowing for cleaner images with less noise in low light. If you often shoot in these conditions and find your current camera struggles, upgrading could make a noticeable difference in your work. IBIS, which stands for In-Body Image Stabilization, is another feature that is tied directly to the camera. Whilst it's not essential for everyday photography, it can make a significant difference if you are often shooting in low light, using slower shutter speeds, or working with longer focal lengths. IBIS can also be a beneficial tool for capturing smoother and more stable video. If you are planning on shooting a lot of video with your camera, then I'd say it's a must-have. And last but not least, video capabilities. Honestly, whenever I upgrade a camera, one of the main reasons for the upgrade comes down to the video specs, because it is an area where camera technology continues to improve. With recent mirrorless cameras, you now have more video features to choose from, including higher resolutions, various frame rates, advanced autofocus, bit depth, picture profiles, just to name a few. These upgrades can make a huge difference in the quality and flexibility of your video content. Now, before we talk about reasons to upgrade your lens, a message from today's sponsor, Surfshark. There's a lot here you've probably heard already, but with our dependency online increasing every day, we want, no need, our stuff to be protected. We'd all like to believe our information is safe, but with trust online at an all-time low, you are going to need proper security, and I'm guessing you know what Surfshark is all about. In case you don't, Surfshark is a VPN service that encrypts all the data you send over the internet, keeping it secure and out of reach from any of life's more questionable characters. But hey, you're looking for more into security, you want a little bit extra, right? Well, are you tired of your content being restricted based on your location? Well, thanks to Surfshark, you can solve that problem by changing your virtual location. It's not teleportation, but it's the closest we're going to get. Not only is this good for people who want to keep up with their favourite shows, like me, I like watching The Walking Dead, but here in the UK you can't watch it on Netflix. Switch my VPN over to America, and now I have full access to all 11 seasons. Surfshark can also be a vital tool for those who live in countries that, for whatever reason, view the concept of freedom in the same vein as witchcraft. So secure your privacy with Surfshark. Type in the link on screen right now, or click it in the description to get an extra 4 months with your subscription, fully protecting yourself for, when all is said and done, an extra few bucks a month. And remember, you get 4 months free and 30-day money back guarantee as well. So what are you waiting for? Thanks Surfshark for the sponsor. Now back to today's video.
So if none of the reasons that we've discussed so far in today's video are the driving force behind you wanting to upgrade your gear, then maybe it's time we switch focus and start talking about lenses. Lenses can be the absolute game changer and can breathe a new wave of life into your photo and video content.
And there are a number of reasons for this. For starters, image quality. If your images are not as sharp as you'd like, it's probably not the camera holding you back, rather the lens you're sticking on the front. Lenses vary in sharpness, contrast, and overall optical performance, all of which can directly impact image quality. Upgrading to a better lens can make a significant difference, giving you crisper details, better color renditions, and overall improved results. You can also gain more creative control with a higher quality lens. So if you started out with a kit lens, or maybe you're still using one, you'll know that they have a variable aperture, meaning when you zoom in, your aperture narrows, which can limit your ability to control depth of field and exposure. However, with a higher quality zoom lens, you'll typically get to it with a fixed aperture like f2.8. This allows you to maintain a consistent depth of field and exposure regardless of the focal length you are using, and gives you more creative control over the final look of your shots. And you can see that in action here when using 50mm on a standard kit lens, which has a variable aperture, compared to 50mm on the Sigma 18-50, which has a fixed aperture. Now, as we're discussing aperture, let's talk about those bokeh-licious lenses, and I'm of course talking about primes. Not to exaggerate too much here, but prime lenses will completely transform your content more than any camera upgrade, and the best part is, Prime lenses can be very affordable. For example, this 50mm Sony lens right here costs only £160, and I've used this exact lens to capture the photos currently on screen, and as you can see, this budget-friendly lens delivers sharp results with some having stunning subject separation courtesy of that fast f1.8 aperture. And when it comes to creative control, a lens with a wider aperture like a prime provides better control over depth of field, enabling you to achieve beautiful blurry backgrounds and bokeh. This can enhance your portrait photography, wedding photos, or any other style where isolating the subject from the background is key. Primes are also fantastic for low light conditions because those wider apertures allow much more light into the sensor. This makes them perfect for shooting in challenging lighting situations where you might otherwise need a higher ISO or a slower shutter speed. Upgrading lenses also has the benefit of better autofocus performance. Now I know I said earlier that much of that is determined by the camera itself, but some of it is also controlled by the lens. Newer lenses often feature improved and faster autofocusing motors which work more seamlessly with the camera itself to deliver faster and more reliable autofocus. You might also want to consider upgrading lenses if you are looking for a specific look or character to your shots. Different lenses with different focal lengths and different apertures can deliver completely different looks to your visuals, and if you're looking for something specific, that might be a good reason to upgrade your lens. And finally, you might want to consider upgrading your lens for its physical characteristics. Some lenses are basic, featuring just a focus ring, while others have all the bells and whistles, such as an aperture ring, focus ring, switches, custom buttons, and so on. You might also want a lens to have weather sealing, especially if you are shooting in extreme conditions and need a lens to withstand a bit of a beating.
So in conclusion, deciding whether to upgrade your camera or lens first really comes down to your specific needs and how you want to push your creativity further. Whilst newer cameras certainly have their benefits with improved autofocus, better ISO performance and enhanced video capabilities, lenses can offer a more immediate noticeable improvement with image quality, creative control and versatility. If you're noticing your photos aren't as sharp as you like, or you feel like you're just being held back by a current lens, then upgrading to a new one can make a significant difference. Whether it's a prime lens for the stunning bokeh and low light shooting capabilities, or a zoom lens with fixed aperture for versatility. Ultimately, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your current setup is key for making the right decision. So whether you're thinking of upgrading your camera or lens, make sure it aligns with your creative journey and what is going to help you continue to grow. So that's all the advice I've got for today's video, but just before you go, if you want to learn how to master the camera basics in just 10 minutes, then check out this video right here. And with all that said and done, until next time, create, explore and inspire.